if you're a wrestling fan, a pro wrestling fan, um, I will say this: it's been quite the year as far as that goes, doesn't it? It's been quite the year. I mean, when you think about it, when you think about it, if you're an overall fan, you're you're happy with the way some things have been going, and you're not happy with the way some other things have been going. You're happy that the longest one of the probably the longest lasting company um, in the modern era is getting back on track. Well, one that had potential to be, you know, the change pro wrestling needed is falling down the wrong path. And it's like it has the potential to do good, but the people leading it is what's causing it to fall apart. And that's not good in its own right. I mean, of course, I'm talking about WWE and AEW. WWE basically being where it needs to be, and people are happy about that. And AEW having that potential to be the change wrestling needed, and yet now it's going down a path that basically could cause its demise. After this new contract media rights deal that they have comes to an end within the next 3 to 4 years. You know, and that's not a good sign. I mean, if you're an overall fan. Now, if you're an AEW fan, and you're more realistic about the situation, you realize that, yeah, my company has the potential to be great, but it's not going to be great if we don't get somebody else in charge. And that's a fact. That is a fact. I mean, you look at World's End last night, and I don't know if they were able to at least get a decent sized crowd above 6,000, at the venue where they were, but they were on pace of being outsold by a live event, part of WWE's holiday tour at the Kia Center in Orlando, which was like, I think, down the street, by at least 2,000, 3,000 fans. And that's not a good sign. Because usually a pay-per-view, if it's held in the same city as another company's live event is, that pay-per-view should be drawing more than the live event. But it shows you, where AEW has gone, within this year. I mean, I do agree. I do agree. AEW, at the start of the year and in midpoint of the year, showed that it can be good. It showed that it can, be the change once again that it always set out to say, that Tony Khan and everybody, that works there basically said that it's set out to be. And yet, despite what we saw going into Revolution, the sellout crowd they had at the Greensboro Coliseum, for Sting's last match, and afterwards, and even before a little bit, and then somewhat in the middle, it's like all of a sudden it's like in between, it's like afterwards, it's like it's like, again, before and after Sting's retirement, things were looking up, and then all of a sudden, it just drifted down, going into Double or Nothing, going into Dynasty and Double or Nothing, I should say. It started to drift down. And then in the middle parts going into All In, it felt like it was picking back up, and then after All In, it fell apart again. It's like they don't know, what they really want. It's like they don't know what they really want in the end. And that's what's sad. That's what's sad about this whole situation. They don't know what they want. And I honestly, and hold on for a minute. I had to scratch my ear there. Sorry for that. But anyway, it's like they don't know what they want. They don't know what they want to be. It's like they have the potential. AEW has this potential to basically, they have to kick the door down, kick the door down, bash it down, and basically leave it in a million pieces, and just keep marching on and marching on to to success that they know they could do, but yet they don't capitalize on that potential. They have something. They do have something, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. They do have something with this whole Death Riders, hostile takeover, hostile control situation right now, storyline that they got going on with Moxley, with John Moxley, Claudio, Marina, Wheeler, Pac. You know, they have this storyline going on to where it's like they want to take control, they want to take over, but yet it's like they can't find a way to capitalize on it, and and try to really make it into something that's going to get people talking. You know, it's like it's like they have the main piece there. They have other pieces coming in that could fill in the gaps needed to make it interesting. Like they had Adam Copeland and FTR come together as a stable called Rated FTR. It's it's like you have all the potential, all the pieces, aligned to really get people talking, and yet nothing. And nobody knows whether or not Tony Khan is booking things creatively, writing things creatively, enough, really filling in the gaps, the details that are needed, or if he's letting people like Moxley and Mercedes and others do the creative writing for themselves, when that shouldn't be the case. We don't know. We don't know. But what's really like the sticking point that's causing AEW to hit all those landmines is something that Tony Khan basically said, hey, this helped us get our media deal. I'm happy for it. I'm happy for the fact that this helped us. But yet, it was a black eye on the company. And that was the fact that they decided around WrestleMania time or a little afterwards, after CM Punk did the interview with Ariel Helwani, that in response they were going to show, to kind of make it part of the FTR Young Bucks storyline that we've seen before, try to put more emphasis and interest in it. They decide, hey, you know what would be a great way to promote this feud and everything, but also be a way to show that we're in the right, he's in the wrong? Let's show the security footage from backstage at All In 2020, or 2023 I should say, the backstage footage from All In 2023, the confrontation between Jack Perry and CM Punk. They decided, hey, let's see if we could do that, make it more interesting, when in reality it was just a ratings ploy. Yeah, it got people to tune in because, hey, CM Punk on AEW, even if it's security footage, it got people to tune in, but then what happened after that? And what is WWE doing in return? They're laughing all the way to the bank. They're laughing at how pathetic this was on Tony Khan's part to get ratings. To try to prove he was in the right, CM Punk was in the wrong. It's like, I'm getting some more coffee there. It's like basically, it's like Tony Khan, I think, and I believe, knows he's basically captaining a sinking ship. I think he knows that. And he's trying everything to keep it afloat. He is basically throwing everything in all the holes in his ship to patch him up, to keep it afloat as long as he can, till he, reaches land or his destination, to where he can build from there. I believe he knows he's running a sinking ship, but he just does not want to admit it. And yet you have WWE that, yeah, they're not perfect either. They've had ups and downs. If you don't believe me, ask people like JD from NY206 of Off the Script, Solomonster of Solomonster Sounds Off, Alex Hicks of Just Alex, Greg Morgan, Good Mic Work, and so on, OTR Central. Ask them, whether WWE's been perfect this year. They haven't. I mean, they looked at SmackDown the final 2-hour SmackDown, by the way, on USA this past Friday, the final one of the year, as boring. The only interesting thing coming out of it was, basically, basically, I'm trying to find the right word to say here. Basically, the only interesting things coming out of it was a continuation of the Meechin Chelsea Green U.S. title feud with hints of dissension between, with little sprinkles of dissension, of Piper Niven and Chelsea Green thrown in there. You have the whole Nakamura Andrade thing being built up, and then to top it off, you have the Bloodline being put into a situation to where, not only are they in a trios feud with a couple of people, with LA Knight, Apollo Crews, and who else? Can't think of the name. I can't think of who else it is. Sami Zayn, I think. Sami Zayn, I believe. Who's a Raw guy, but might be going over to SmackDown. You have them in a situation there. Also preparing Solo for Tribal Combat against Roman Reigns on January 6th. You have that going on. And then on top of that, mind you, you have Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens basically being put into an undisputed unification match for both the modern WWE Championship and the Winged Eagle WWE Championship in a ladder match at the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, those are the interesting things coming out, but in the eyes of someone like, let's say, you also had more of a build and more added, I guess you could say, complexity to the Who Attacked Jade storyline with Nia Jax and Candice LeRae basically blaming Bianca Belair for what happened, calling her out, saying you might have done it. So there were interesting tidbits here and there, but to some that wasn't enough. And the only thing being interesting was the Rhodes Owens continuation, now with the ladder match stipulation added in. And you have people like JD saying, yeah, it was, we had some interesting things, but it wasn't a very good show. So again, WWE was not really perfect throughout this year either. So there is no denying that, at all. But if you were to tell the overall wrestling fan that likes all things wrestling, WWE, AEW, TNA, AAA, New Japan, Rev Pro, so on, if you were to ask them who's had the better year between the two main companies in the United States, the top two, AEW and WWE, people will say WWE had the better year. And not only did they have the better year, but their third brand on CW, NXT, the developmental brand, has been a better show than AEW. And even people like JD, who doesn't watch NXT and still feels it needs improvement, would even say that. And he's even called out the fact that AEW has been beaten by NXT, almost every time, almost every week, whether they're going head to head because of certain things preempting NXT or AEW to go to a different night, or just because of the fact that more people would watch a Tuesday night show over a Wednesday night show. Again, despite them having enough flaws with its Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, WWE, if you ask the overall fan, has had the better year. Especially when you look at the fact that a live event outsells a pay-per-view when it should be the opposite. That's not good. That's not good whatsoever. Getting more coffee there. But again, that's not good whatsoever when that happens. That's not good. That's not good whatsoever. And honestly, I don't blame people for saying that or looking at it that way. I mean, even people would say, this is where AEW is right now, and I'm not trying to crap on them, but this is what All Elite Wrestling is right now. TNA, yes, they have association with WWE, but TNA is outselling smaller venues than AEW. Yeah, AEW did okay in the Hammerstein Ballroom with it and Ring of Honor, but guess what? Was it a complete sellout? From what I saw, no. Was it reported as a complete sellout? No. but it was a decent crowd. But TNA's, you know, picking up the pace to the point that they can outsell that more than AEW. You know, they're going to go to the Galen Center in Los Angeles, try to sell that out, and try to sell out the same venue AEW's held pay-per-views in Long Island. And they might just do it, especially if they configure it in a way that will accomplish that. And that's the one thing some people have said that AEW should do. They should configure an arena, even if it's a big venue, so that they could sell it out. So let's say, for example, you know, they've booked the Crypto Arena for Revolution, right? The former Staples Center. You know, the Crypto Arena in Los Angeles. That can hold about, what, 16, 17,000 people? Maybe 20,000? You know, at the rate they're going, they need to configure that for half of that amount. If not, maybe, let's say not just half of that, but maybe 60%, 70% less than that. So instead of maybe 20,000, you could have, you can have a configuration for 10,000, if not 5,000. That way you can see, yeah, we sold out, you know, the former Staples Center with 5,000 tickets because that's what you configured the arena for. That would be the best option. Or if I'm them, I would book a backup venue just in case I don't sell out the Crypto Arena. I'm just saying, if I'm AEW, that's what I would do. Not saying that I should, but that's what I would do. Honestly. Because if TNA sells out the Galen Center, which I think AEW should book as a backup as well for Revolution, but if they sell out the Galen Center and they sell out more, well, I wouldn't say the entire venue, but if they outsell attendance-wise the UBS Arena in Long Island, you know, more so than AEW, then that's not a good sign. That essentially would make TNA number 2 again behind WWE, and AEW falls to number 3. And if I'm Tony Khan, I don't want that. But yet that feels like it's going to happen. You know, and here's what's crazy. JD from NY206 of Off the Script and Solid Monster, they do commentary, play-by-play and commentary, as well as Solid Monster as the commissioner for House of Glory, Hog Wrestling, located in New York, and they're trying to expand outside of that. They had a show. They had a show in Chicago. They got another show coming up in Chicago next month. They had a show in Philadelphia earlier this year during WrestleMania weekend. You know, they're trying to expand, and maybe eventually they'll come out to the West Coast. But I guarantee you, House of Glory, could outsell AEW at the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's a fact. And matter of fact, GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, is booked for the Hammerstein Ballroom. Guess what? They'll probably outsell it more so than them. And that's a fact. That's not fantasizing, that's a fact. They could probably outsell them. And here's the thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the way things are going with AEW, I would not be surprised if that occurs. I would not be surprised. But here's what's crazy, though. Has AEW hit 1 million views on some of the videos, you know, that they upload to YouTube? Have they hit 1 million views? I don't know. Let me check. They might have hit 1 million views. You know, with Adam Copeland's return last night. But let me check. Let's go to AEW. Let's see. Post show, the media scrum. That's only hit 83 views as of 15 hours ago. 15 hours ago it happened, so it only hit like 15 views. The pre-show only hit 204,000 views. And like I said, the post-show media scrum only hit 83,000 views so far over that. The media scrum for Final Battle, which was 8 days ago, only 29,000. The pre-show, 54,000. That's not good. 2 weeks ago, 55,000 views for the All In Texas countdown to on sale, only 55 views. That's not good. That's not good, folks. That's not good whatsoever. You know, a lot of the videos, the highlights, it's like none of them have cracked 3,000 or it's bad. It is bad, folks. That is bad. But you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? And I'm going to look this up right now. I'll look this up right now. Okay? I'm going to look this up right now. DCA. See. Let me see something. I'm going to look it up right now, folks. Here we are. So let me see. I'm trying to look here. In 2 days, their episode 213 or 216 of their DCA Throwdown has 175 views. Okay, that's not a lot, but that's in 2 days. 175 views. That tells me that eventually they could end up doing more. All right, they could end up doing more. The point I'm getting at is they have proven in the past, and I've seen this. I have seen this. They have proven in the past that they can go over a certain amount of views. And that's not a lie. That's not a lie. You know, in fact, you know what's crazy? One video, or not one video, but a two-part video that I did years ago. Basically, and I mean like a decade ago, something like that. It's got more views. And this, I think, was a Royal Rumble match I did, an All-Star Royal Rumble match. It's got more views. More views. It's the truth. It's got more views. You know, than I think anything AEW has done in recent months. More views. And that's bad. That is bad. You know, that is bad. You know, trying to see here. That's not it. But yeah, what the point I'm getting at? The point I'm getting at is that when you have a CAW league, and within 2 days, if not less, a CAW league with its Destiny Championship Alliance, CAW Champions League, you know, Virtual Wrestling United, you name it, whatever. When you have them outselling, basically outviewing you on YouTube, on a platform like YouTube, outviewing you overall when people tune into your show. When you have that happen, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign whatsoever. That's not. And people would rather watch a CAW match than anything. They'd rather watch it. They'd rather watch it. And I'm not lying about that. I guarantee you, there have been several CAW events that have happened the same day AEW events have happened this year, and people have watched them more than AEW. I mean, when your media scrum from last night's World's End is only cracking 85,000 plus viewership wise, some might say that's good, but it's not. It's not good. It's not good. And when your Ring of Honor media scrum and post show is not doing good viewership wise, it shows you have a problem. It shows you have a problem. Again, it shows essentially that you have you have a problem. You have a problem in everything, and that's not good. I'm trying to find something here. It's not it. Well, it used to be on here. They used to have a CCL, like I said, CAW Champions League. But again, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, let's see here. Trying to. Yeah, but like I said, that's not good. In fact, if you just do overall, on that, let's see, All Call Wrestling. Let's see. Wrestling. Okay. Trying to look here. Some recent ones. Not all are recent, but I'm telling you right now, these get more views than I think anything sometimes. They get more views than I think AEW gets sometimes. Let's see. Steam Call Wrestling. This is old. Let's see. Oh, wait. I think it's got to listen something. Here we go. CCL on YouTube. Here we go. Alright, so yeah, they don't have many views, but the thing is, if you were to compare the views to what's going on now, there is no doubt in my mind, people would be choosing, CCL, College Champions League over AEW. Let's see, CAW All Stars. Let's see that one. Okay, so the views aren't big either, but still the point is, if you were to have them go head to head with AEW, at the same time AEW does a Dynamite or a Collision, or even a pay-per-view, there's a good chance they might get watched more so than AEW. Let's see. This one is... Okay, this is live streams. Okay, alright, so they didn't do any live streams recently. I'm trying to look here. But in 2 weeks, get this. So it's only 2 weeks, but they already have on the SWW Rush 29th episode, they have like 1.7 thousand views. Now you might say, oh, that's nothing compared to AEW's views, and that's true as of now. But if that within the next couple of weeks, if not a couple of days, grows and has more views than AEW stuff, That's going to be something right there. It's going to be something right there. Point I'm getting at, and I do apologize for any pause or silences throughout this as I was looking things up on my television on the YouTube app. Get more coffee there. Point I'm getting at is that if AEW wants 2025 to be that bounce back year, that year that proves that they are still exactly who they say they are, then they need to get their priorities straight. They need to. They need to get their priorities straight, and they need to get them straight in a big, big way. Because if not, you know what's going to happen? 2025 is going to be a year where AEW not only becomes the number 3 promotion behind WWE and TNA, but they just might be the number 4 promotion behind, curated wrestling leagues. Yeah, that could happen. Somebody, let's say at D-Wall, I think that's his name. I think his name is D-Wall. Let me find this again. But D-Wall. I know his things here somewhere. But basically, D-Wall 4869, D-Wall 4869 here on YouTube, he might suddenly put out a CPV, which is short for Curated Wrestling Pay-Per-View or Curated Wrestling Per-View. He might put out that live stream or recorded, put together and then edited together, stuff like that. Could be. He might do that, and all of a sudden, that event, whether it's a weekly event, blah, 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 get a little tongue-tied. He might do that as a CPV or maybe even a weekly event. He could put something like that together. Let's say CPV event. Again, I'm getting a little tongue-tied, brain farts and all that. I do apologize. But anyway, basically, he could put something like that together, and on one night, if not 1 week, viewership-wise, it could outdo AEW because of the direction AEW is going right now. It could. He could. I'm not lying about that. He could put on, because I think he's got a CPV coming up soon, right? For those that follow DCA Wrestling, for his CAW league. That event that he has got coming up, that night could outdo. That one night it happens could be the night that viewership-wise could outdo AEW's views on some of their stuff. If he does it on the same day they have New Year's Dynamite, and it outdraws any highlights and clips they put on their YouTube channel, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. And I'm not lying about that either. Get more coffee. Here. But, yeah. To me, AEW, if you're a pro wrestling fan, overall, if not loyal AEW loyalist, you want 2025 to be the year AEW finally says, we're still the alternative, we're still the change wrestling needs, here's the proof. Because if they don't do it, TNA is going to take over that number 2 spot. They'll fall to number 3. And you know what's crazy? They might even fall behind the CAW Created Wrestling League that's made courtesy of WWE 2K24 or 2K25, if not a CAW league that's created via their own AEW Fight Forever game. That's what's going to happen. And WWE is going to be sitting pretty on top, looking down and having a good laugh, thinking, "Ah ha ha, you tried, Tony, ha ha." Shows you that maybe fans don't know any better than those that have been in the business. You know, and here's the thing: people can criticize those, criticize the likes of a JD or a Solomonster. Here's the thing: they work in the business, they understand the business, so they have more of a right than I think a lot of us to give critiques on what needs to change within All Elite Wrestling. Now again, it wasn't a bad year for WWE either. We know that. Sometimes they've had sleeper hits. Or not sleeper hits. Sometimes, well, yeah, they've had sleeper hits. When it comes to Raws and SmackDowns, but sometimes they've had lackluster Raws. They've had lackluster, SmackDowns. Heck, some of the pay-per-views, premium live events, haven't been up to snuff. At times, but still, people prefer them more so than anything else. And it's not because they've been around longer. It's because they're pumping out the better product, and they have people that understand the ins and outs of the business. AEW is in a situation right now where it feels like they're lost. Where Tony Khan feels like he's lost and he doesn't know what to do. And like I said earlier, he's trying to patch up a sinking ship. And it's not working. Because the more he patches up, the more holes start to appear. So, if you're an overall wrestling fan, or if you're not a true diehard AEW loyalist, you need to pray, you need to hope that they turn it around in 2025. Because, like everybody says, and I agree, wrestling needs a company like AEW to survive. They need it to thrive and survive. Because if you're only stuck with WWE, and to an extent TNA, who has a partnership with WWE, and, they don't have a partnership, well, I think they're going to probably have a partnership with AAA next year. And all that. So they might have a partnership there. They have a partnership with Pro Wrestling Noah and All Japan. But if you don't have, if you don't have an outlet like AEW to try to be neck and neck with them, then, basically wrestling for a while might be in a good state, but then overall could fall apart. So you need to pray and hope AEW gets it together. Because like I said, they could end up next year, if they don't, being behind CAW leagues, creator wrestling leagues made thanks to wrestling video games. And with more wrestling video games coming out within the next year outside of WWE 2K25, that's gonna open the door even more, and that could hurt AEW even more. Because people could use those wrestling games like they've used other wrestling games to put matches together, to tell stories, in a way that they can't tell with the likes of WWE 2K or AEW. Or AEW Fight Forever, excuse me. So you better hope and pray they get their act together tomorrow, next year. Because if they don't, the ink is only good. What's that old saying? The ink is only good as the paper is printed on, right? The ink's only as good as the paper is printed on. Well, that paper, that media rights contract, that won't be worth diddly squat. It won't be worth diddly squat after this year if they don't get their act together. I mean, here's what's crazy. They're being outviewed, YouTube and television-wise, outviewed by Women of Wrestling. And Women of Wrestling comes on at different times on the CW network syndicated, from a syndicated standpoint. They come on different times on the CW and on Vice at different times, on different days, but they draw more viewership, by people watching them, and more viewership on the YouTube clips. And that's not good. That's not. So if I'm Tony Khan, I get my act together come 2025 because he could be eventually left in the dust. I mean, when people rank a top five next year of wrestling promotions or wrestling people like pro wrestling wise, WWE would be number one, TNA would be number two, number three could be a CAW league, number four could be Women of Wrestling, WOW, and number five could be AEW, and that's it. And that's not a good look. That's not a good look. But hopefully they get their act together. Hopefully they get their act together next year. Hopefully they do. And if you're a loyalist, you need to pray that they do. You need to pray that they do.